welcome to the His and Her Show with Jody
and Alex Misiak.
And today we are going to talk about emotions. Last episode we just touched like a very small amount about how emotions, and you need to feel them, but you don't want to hang on to them.
Mm-hmm, yes.
So it's, feel your emotions, but don't live in them.
And I'm very guilty of this. I do that a lot, and it's hard. So I'm hoping that we can cover some tips as well that sort of help me and help you, so that we don't live in the emotions. So you can experience them and then let them go.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is we've talked about, I've mentioned this before in other episodes, is that growing up we were, told, children need to be seen, not heard, or that wasn't one for us, but like a generation or two before us, I know was a huge, at least not in our life, that one, in our families, but it is one of those ones out there. And then another one is like women shouldn't show anger. We should just be polite and, and
people pleasers.
So yes, exactly. That's a big one. People pleasers.
Can't cry.
Yeah. So we've been taught for so long that it's not good to show our emotions. It's not good to feel our emotions. So I spent a lot of my life, like I remember being a teenager and yelling at my dad, and he'd yell back, and then I knew it wouldn't end, so I just leave. That's not healthy. And then eventually I just realized, like, I kind of gave up, and I just kind of pushed that anger down, and I pushed it down, because I was like, it doesn't get me anywhere anyways, and push it down, and then it explodes. Like bottle of champagne over everything.
Yeah.
And you got a big mess on your hands. A big mess. So if you don't take some time to feel emotions, to figure out why they're showing up, because they're there for a reason, it's a really good reason, then it's just going to get real messy. So emotions are in our life. Like, we all have emotions. We have every single emotion within us, and some are more dominant than others in our life, and they're there to show us things.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, even sadness and grief, like when we lose someone, a loved one, it is okay to feel that and to be there. And and that's even a different kind, like loss and grief. And then you have anger, and anger is amazing. Like, once I found this out when I did the training to become an empowerment coach, I love this because anger is actually takes you to the next level. And if you use anger correctly, it can skyrocket you to your dreams. You can use it as like fuel to get you to where you want to be. Like, I am sick of where I am, or like, I'll show you, there's just so much like you can use.
Like fuel.
Yes, exactly. Fuel. I thought I said that. Anyways, rocket fuel.
Right. Yes.
Anyway, so, or jet fuel. Like, skyrocket to where you want to be. It's actually so much better than, obviously sadness and loss is a part of our life. It's just a cycle that happens, and it's about feeling that. If you would have somebody lose a loved one and you don't deal with those emotions at some point, I'm not saying you have to let them go right away. Like, there's no right or wrong here, and I'm not even going to go into this because this is not my expertise. Is if you have that, you need to you actually have to feel those feelings to move, like, to get to the next part.
Right.
You can't just be like, oh, okay, I felt sad, moving on. Like, you can't just because you didn't actually release them. You swept them under the rug, and they will show up later in your life. Probably at the worst time ever. Or, here's the other thing that happens with emotions. They become cancer. They become other illnesses. They become things that show up in our life that we think they're out sources that are coming into our life, yet
we're pulling them to ourselves.
Yeah, we're really attracting them to us because those emotions are there and we just haven't dealt with them. Mm. So how do we release emotions? There's a few different, there's more than a few actually. A big one is something that I It's funny. I thought I just started journaling when I became a SWAT student. And I realized that even my whole life I journaled. It was my way of getting my emotions out on paper. And that's a big one, is journaling. Writing it down, getting it out, and then figuring out why it's showing up in your life. Anger, a really good exercise, is, I did this again as a kid, and it helped because you need to get it out. If anger is in you, the worst thing to do is just push down. Now, the other worst thing to do is like yell and scream at somebody that it's not even,
they're not the.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
They're not the. They're an unfair target of your anger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a pillow. Like, hit it with a bat, or what I did as a teenager is I pounded my mattress.
Right.
And it's just, you got to get it out.
Yeah.
You got to get the anger out, just in a healthy way. Or like what I love to do now is I take action out of like. It'd be like, oh man, like this, like, it's so funny because I have zero anger in me right now. So I'm just like, I'm trying to fake anger myself up and above. But it's just like, like something that set me off in an anger or like, and then I just take action in that anger. And then like, yeah.
To do like, so, okay. It's if you're angry about something, you like what you do is you turn around and you're like, how do I need to change this thing if I'm angry about it? How do I change this thing or myself?
Like I just take action.
Right. Okay. You take but yes, you take action to
like say somebody says something to me that I'm like, oh man, and then like deep down I get angry, and then deep down I kind of realize like, oh, this is on me or whatever, or I might even not realize that, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to show you. I'm going to totally do you. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to do this, and then you move forward out of anger. Okay. But a big one is like for anger, and I focus on anger because that has been a big emotion in my life, and it's something that's been really, just dominant, and it really came from hiding behind personas and pretending to be other people, like another person, like just a people pleaser. And from being a people pleaser, really, I got angry because I wasn't living my true self. And that's where mine came from. And that's how it showed up in my life was, I was just angry because I wasn't myself. And right. So that's a big one for me. I
think, I think anger, that I think is definitely a more powerful emotion that you can work more from. But for me, I think it would be probably sadness.
Okay.
And I'm not at the same level as you, because I didn't do the same courses. Kind of wishing I did. Anyways, but it is important to feel like if you're sad, you need to feel sad. You need to find a place where you can go and be sad. Mm-hmm. Not for hours or days, because that's depression, and that's different. And that's what happens when you actually ignore sadness long enough. Well, I think it can get you to depression.
Well, here's the other thing though. So there's two parts to this, right? You need to feel your emotions. You need to let them be there. You need to accept them. You need to surrender to them.
Yeah.
The other part, though, that we'll get to very soon is you need to release them. You need to say goodbye, and you need to let them go.
Yeah.
So if you find sadness is a good one for sadness is if you have, it might just be that you're holding on to loss of you might be thinking, you might be holding on to these expectations that you put on yourself of you're not living up to the person you wanted to be, or you didn't reach the life you wanted to hope and wanted to be, and it's a different kind of loss. So yeah. It's not a person loss per se, but it's this idea of the person you could have been lost.
Yeah, you have to let go of an idea.
And if people listening have any sadness, a good one is just let yourself cry, and it's picking a movie that you know will make you cry.
And that could be tricky for a lot of men out there, because I don't know how many men practice the this like feeling that emotions. We're taught in society, and we take it on ourselves in society as well. There's only so much blame you can throw around, but it doesn't look like men give into their feelings a lot in when you're looking around. Maybe that's not true. Maybe you did get to see people
literally watch it by yourself.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. There's some really sad movies out there.
There are.
One that we know and we've never even watched was that dog one. I can't remember, The Life of a Dog or something. No,
The Dog's Life.
Was it?
I guess this is what it's called, but it's okay.
Anyways, like,
something like that would make you feel.
Just look at something that you know, or will bring on the tears. Something that like will trigger knee jerk you.
Yeah, I think that's key. Is that when you're feeling sad, you need to let that sadness out, and that definitely involves a good cry. Mm-hmm. And depending on who you are, that might be trickier to do than others, but you will be better off if you just sort of find a way to
surrender.
Yeah, you just surrender and try to do it the same day, if at all possible. Because if you just push it under the rug because of other things going on in your life right now, and you'll forget about it. You'll push it under the rug. You'll forget about it, or you'll tell yourself that you forgot about it. But it's still there. You didn't deal with it. So you have to try and get rid of it for the first day, right?
I gotta jump in though.
Okay.
So like anybody that like say you are like, oh, I can't deal with sadness, or like, you know, you're like, some men might have a hard time. You gotta figure out what resistance is happening there. Like, what is stopping you from feeling those emotions? Because it's not just sadness that people might have a hard time dealing with. It could be any emotion.
Right.
And if you're in that place of not being able to even allow those emotions out, you got to figure out why. Like, where does that stem from? Were you taught as a child that it wasn't okay to cry? That, like, were you punished when you cried? Like, different things like that. Why? And again, I'm using sadness, but it could be anything. Anger. A lot of women were taught not to be angry. And with clients, it can be really a pain point where like they can't let their anger out. Or they might not even know that they have anger within. Like, I know I have a lot of anger, and I've worked on a lot, and I still, you know, it still shows up a lot because it's one of those, the big pattern in my life. And that's my main one. But some women will think that they don't even have anger at all. And one of the amazing things is I was listening to Debbie Ford, and I've mentioned it before, is the dark side of the light chasers, is we all have emotion. Like, every single emotion, we all have it within us. We can all show those emotions. We can all feel those emotions. However, if there's an emotion that's not showing up, it's because we're resisting it somehow. Or we've like buried it so deep in our soul that we're so afraid to show it or feel it. That it's just so buried that we don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's listening that's like, I'm never angry, somewhere within you is anger. And I'm not saying it needs to come out, but it's just thinking about it. Like, do you have resistance to a certain emotion? To anger or sadness? And same with men. And that one's a big one, is not crying. I remember, I don't remember when Titanic came out, but when I think I was in grade 8 or something. Like the Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, I think that's.
And I remember going to the movie theaters with a friend, and she was crying. And I'm like, oh my God, why is she crying? And I couldn't cry in public. I couldn't cry. Mm-hmm. I didn't cry unless I was in my own bedroom by myself for, I don't even know how long. I don't even know when I started crying in front of people. I couldn't even cry in front of my best friend. I wouldn't allow myself to feel the emotions. And in fact, then I even thought, like, how can she, you know, like I was so afraid of that emotion that I even was like picking on my friend for showing her emotion.
Right.
And I just thought it was so bizarre because it was so foreign to me. So we have all those feelings. And now I cry like everything.
Just things that make you sad.
Oh my goodness. Once I became a mom, it was like waterworks beyond, like pregnant, I cried to like the craziest cartoons. Anyway, so
yeah. I think one of the bigger takeaways is by allowing yourself to feel the emotions and let them go. Like you said, there's all the emotions inside of us. So if you practice feeling and then letting go of those, I don't want to call them negative emotions, but like those emotions that have negative connotations.
No emotion is negative. It's all we like. It's only negative when we hold it in.
Right. So like things like sadness and anger, ones that people generally associate with like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see you cry. I don't want to see you be angry. Right. I just want to see the happier stuff. Right. They're all basically the part of the same whole, which is you. So if you're denying yourself those other emotions, you're not feeling the happiness. You're not feeling, love. You're not doing all those other ones as deeply or as completely as you could be.
Yes. I love that, actually. I love that you put that there. Yes. Without light or without darkness, you wouldn't know light. And it's the same thing with emotions, the heavy emotions so instead of negative and positive, let's do light emotions, which is happy, things that fill us up, joy, that, put a jump in our step kind of thing. And then you got the heavy emotions, grief,
anger,
guilt, anger.
Okay.
Even pride and things like that. And shame. Shame is the lowest emotion. That's a real heavy one. So heavy versus light.
Right.
Empowerment, happiness, peace,
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think that works. I think our listeners are following. Yeah. So it's that's what I'm saying. If you can't feel and process the heavy emotions, then you're not going to have access to the full spectrum of all of your emotions.
And I really do love how you put that, because you're right. If you don't, it's like, let's break it down. Even this might seem weird. Let's roll with it and see. But it's like you have two arms. You maybe you love your left hand, and you're like, oh my goodness, I love it. But if you have two sides.
Right.
Of your body, of your hands.
Sure.
And you need to embrace both of them to really function fully.
Right.
And that's the same with our emotions. You need to embrace it all, the good and the bad, the heavy, the light, and to just really become whole.
You need to embrace both sides of you, light, dark.
We all have it. Yeah. And when you realize that your emotions aren't there to be hated, or to be shameful of.
Or hidden, yeah.
Or hidden. That it's just, they're all a part of you. And it doesn't mean you have to feel sadness 24/7. But when you do have, something in your life happens that has sadness, it's feel it. And then release it, a big part of it. Now, again, if it comes to, a loss of a person, that's a whole different ballgame, because you got to be with those emotions as long as you're ready to move forward. But anger, it's the sooner you can move forward, the better. And even just shame, there's a lot of shame that we've been put on as, through children. And we don't want to share things. Yeah, we don't want to share things because we feel ashamed of it, or guilty for not doing something, or being something that we wanted to be or didn't want to be. Or here's a fun one. You could feel guilty for getting angry. Yeah. And it's okay, well, you need to break that down a little. Yeah. And I definitely go with the lower emotions first, which is guilt. Anger is a little higher on the emotional scale. So and this is actually something that I do with my clients. I actually work with an emotional scale, and we work through the emotions to get to empowerment. And actually speaking, because we're on this topic, a little bit of the emotional scale is, I always thought that once I became an empowerment coach, I had to be empowered all the time, that I couldn't feel shame, guilt, anger, and grief, and all those things that are below empowerment. And I thought I had to be let's go with the better word, perfect that I had to be empowered all the time. Well, here's a fun fact. You can be empowered one day, and then you can feel guilty or angry another day. And the more we work on ourselves and grow and become like just more authentic and more pure, I would like to say pure, like when we came to this earth as babies, because we were pure then. Then the world put on lots of stuff. So when we were pure, like when we get back to that place of like taking off other people's beliefs, we can actually get back to empowerment faster. Yeah. So like if I fall into anger now, and I don't even like the word use fall, but when I come down to anger and I'm angry, I'm like, I'm not there usually as long as I used to be.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, like let's get this done. How do I get back up there? And it's really cool. So the more we heal and the more we grow and the more we become empowered, the more we get to see those emotions. Like I wasn't going to share this, but it actually just happened a few weeks ago where I was getting ready to go out and I was meeting a couple friends. I was like, oh man, like I was like, what was it? Oh, I'm being super transparent here. So I was like, I haven't, taken care of my mustache. And I was like, and then I was like, these two people aren't there to judge who I am or how, that I, forgot to do this the other day. And I caught myself. Because we are our worst critics. Yeah. So super transparent there and super sharing. And before I would have been like, oh God, like I'm going to look like a horror. And I would have just went down this spiral of craziness. And
guilt, shame, like,
that, and then just
it would pile up.
Well, not even, I don't know if I would have went down to shame. Well, maybe I would have. It really depends. But I was worried about what other people thought of me again. But it was really cool how quickly I shifted out of that. Yeah. I'm like, wait a second. This is me. That was my ego talking. So it's really amazing what we can do when we figure out why our emotions come into our world. And it's we're making friends with our emotions. So
and you can't do that if you ignore them.
Yeah, I was going to say, them. Everybody that's listening, have a conversation with every emotion you have. Make friends with it. Everything shows up in our life for a reason and to help us.
Okay. I'm just trying. I'm thinking back to that Pixar movie with the emotions.
Oh, yes. Inside Out.
Inside Out, yeah. So if you're having trouble talking with your emotions, then give them a face.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right? And then sit down and have that conversation with a journal. Obviously,
yes, journaling's great for that.
On the other side of things, that's how you. I think that's one of the key practices to reaching those parts of you that you have been maybe ignoring or neglecting.
But see them as a friend.
Yes, absolutely. That too.
They're there. And then, friends, though, as much as you love your friends, you may not want them to stay in your house for like weeks and weeks or years or months or years. You want to say goodbye. Like, hey, I had a good time hanging out with you. See you later. So it's just looking at them as something not to be feared.
Or swept under the rug.
But that's why we sweep it under the rug, though, is that we fear that we can't show them, we can't feel them, they can't be a part of us. It's not good. It's not right. And so it's taking that out of it and realizing that they're there. And it might just be something that's showing you that you need to heal from your past or whatever it may be. And it's just be with it. And again, let it go. When you can. But you don't want to live in those emotions forever.
Awesome. Yeah. And maybe we can talk again about how to get, once you've felt it, how to then release it.
That sounds good. Yeah. Big one. No. Yeah. Feel and then release though. Yeah. We didn't really get to the second half of it, did we?
No, but that's okay.
You know what though? Every emotion has a different way of releasing it. That's kind of where I come in as a coach.
That's a good point.
But we will be talking more about the emotional scale. I feel like it's in the new year now because we're already at the end of November. So hopefully
Stay tuned. For that one.
We'll definitely, it's something I definitely, it's one of my biggest tools that I use as a coach. So yeah, stay tuned.
So feel. I mean,
feel so you can heal.
There we go. That I can't put a better pin on it than that.
We hope you have a beautiful day.
Bye for now.